to the DMG Stutter Wrong YouTube channel. My name is Mike, and today I'm joined by Gaze Jones. How's it going?
What's up, buddy? How you doing?
I'm great. Trademark. Sorry.
Yeah, we get to do some draft talk. We're gonna obviously, as you can see, we're gonna be doing the recap of the Cleveland Browns draft of this year. A little bit different for me, being a Browns fan. The draft is usually like our Super Bowl, the most exciting time of the year. And now it's like, man, I wonder what we're gonna do for the first couple rounds every year, and just interesting.
Yeah, it
But
is.
other than that, I mean, we should get into it. Yeah.
Yep. Before we do that,
Hit-
hit the like button,
Yeah.
hit the subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it. And for everyone that has, we greatly appreciate you. So, thank you guys very much for those who have already hit the subscribe button.
Heck yeah. But yeah, we'll get into it. With our first pick, we took a cornerback from Mississippi State, Martin Emerson. We took him with the 68th overall in the third round. Yeah, we had a second rounder. That's right. I was thinking about it. We had a second rounder. We traded back. We traded back a couple times in this draft, and we took a couple picks into next year's draft. We're probably trying to do that a few times to get some assets for the next few years. Via the Deshaun Watson trade, we're kind of scarce. We have none.
Yeah.
We have like no first or seconds, I think, but we're getting some back now. But we took Martin Emerson. It's kind of a head scratcher. Didn't really make sense. We're like, okay, at corner, we got Denzel. We just locked up. Greedy's there. Greg Newsome's just here. Troy Hill's got a couple years left on his deal, but I guess he must really like this guy. And then you find out that Troy Hill's traded the next day to the Rams. So it makes a lot more sense. And then when you actually do some studying on him and you figure out with what he's good at and whatnot, it actually makes a lot more sense. It is a Andrew Berry pick for sure. Joe Woods will like this player a lot. He played in college corner, but he also played quite a bit of safety. He has the versatility for both. And he actually looks, in my opinion, he looks more comfortable at safety than he does at corner, which is a valuable thing. We saw it you could see it with like MJ Stewart, even like a player that's not even necessarily quote unquote good, but because he had that ability to be versatile between safety and corner, he was able to go back and forth between those positions, and he made himself very valuable for our team, to the point where it made really no sense that we let him go and walk for as cheap as he did. I think it was like $1 million or something. It was very, very low. It didn't really make too much sense. But I like this. I don't mind this pick. I shouldn't say I like this pick. I don't mind this pick, where it was taken at. I understand understand it. I think it sours because you're like, well, why did we take a corner? And then you find out a day later that because this guy was gone. So if that had happened beforehand, it would make a lot more sense. But again, the stupid parameters that they draft with, we'll see in like 3 to 4 years from now when we have a bigger pool of information based on like the draft picks that Andrew Berry's taken through these parameters. We'll see how they actually do. But again, he's 21. He'll be barely 22 when they start the season. So another young guy that should be able to play through 2 deals before he hits like, oh, I don't know if we should play him anymore. Overall, pretty decent pick. Second, we took Alex Wright. It says linebacker there. He's an edge. He's an in-between guy. He's an edge rusher. Out of the University of Alabama, Birmingham. Alex Wright. We took him the 78th pick. So I'll be honest, I have no idea. Right, like we did a lot of edge rushing, we did a lot of film study, we did a lot of that stuff, and this guy didn't even pop up. So
No.
we drafted him, and I was just like, okay. And I went through and I watched some tape, and honestly, I think we reached a little bit. Yeah. I really do. I'm not a huge fan of this one. I don't. I I get he's depth, right? And we can't draft a starter, in the third round. So I shouldn't complain too much. But at the same time, like, he's raw, extremely raw. And he struggles with stuff that we needed help with last year. So you're kind of replacing some edge rushers that we had already with a similar guy, just younger. Like, just because they're younger doesn't mean that they can do more right away. Um, that's my kind of like opinion on him. But after watching him, he does have some positives. Yeah, he has really good reaction skills. Obviously, um, he had the highest pass rusher win rate in college football. So obviously, he's got really good reaction skills and awareness. He does not miss tackles. He wraps. He's like that traditional what you teach kids how to tackle. He's very good at that. He's very coordinated for being his size. You can tell that he doesn't feel uncomfortable. He probably played basketball quite a bit, I would assume, because he just doesn't look awkward with his weight. And then he works extremely hard. He never stops on a pass rush or on a play, or even on running. Like, he just never stops going, which is a trait that's not really looked at too much, but it's highly important. To never give up on a play is a very valuable attribute. And as Browns fans, we should know, because T.J. Watt in our division, that's literally his like biggest skill, is the fact that dude never stops playing. Like, majority of his sacks come after like 4 or 5 seconds in the pocket, and he just keeps going and going and going, and then he gets it. So it's a valuable attribute. We needed to redo this whole like edge group on our team, like our pretty much our whole D line. It just needed revamped. You needed guys that could start, and then the depth pieces that we have, they're not going to develop, so you kind of need to move on and get new guys. So I understand this pick. I don't mind it. Moving on. And then with our third pick, in the 99th overall pick, we took a wide receiver, David Bell, out of Purdue. So, like, my honest opinion, I'm not a huge fan of him. That's like my personal like preference and taste. I don't see what he necessarily offers the team compared to like what we already have. Like, I really don't. Jarvis Landry is going to be replacement. We're going to sign Jarvis Landry back. It was kind of hinted actually last night. Jarvis made a post of him like walking out of the tunnel and saying he's like back or whatever, and then like deleted it right away. And then a bunch of the Browns players are like, sign him. So he's probably coming back, which I'm ecstatic about. But that's what this guy is. David Bell is what Jarvis Landry was coming out of college, basically. They're very similar. And Jarvis is a better athlete. Like, saying that, like, Jarvis had probably the worst combine in NFL history for a player. But you see Jarvis on the field, and he's just quick, agile, jukes like none other, shifty, and catches absolutely everything, and ran like every route. Like, Jarvis was a baller, and so was David Bell, right? David Bell is a great receiver. He had 93 receptions, like 1,300 yards, 6 touchdowns. So like he's a good wide receiver. What I don't get is, why are we drafting another Jarvis? Like, he fits the way that our offense plays for the last 3 years, but we just got a brand new quarterback. In that offense, we don't have any wide receivers that fit what he has like appreciated throwing to, or really like focused on throwing the ball to, like Brandon Cooks or Will Fuller or DeAndre Hopkins, right? Like, we don't have anything like what he had, and we're getting different kinds of wide receivers. Why wouldn't we go and get somebody that's a more similar kind of player to what Deshaun Watson's used to? That's kind of what that's where I'm like stuck up on. That's what's holding me back. Everyone else you look at, people were talking about like he could be the steal of the draft for the Browns. He's a very good receiver. His 40 time dropped him way too far than he should have been, which in fairness is really pathetic, because I'm not a super athletic guy. I mean, I played what was it, Mikey? What was NAIA? Soccer, right? Yeah. And I ran a faster 40 time coming out of high school than he did for his NFL combine that he's been preparing for. Right, like I don't take like the combine and the 40-yard dash like all that serious, but when I know like my fat butt in high school was faster than this guy that's in his peak age going into the NFL, it's kind of shocking. And it shows it like on the field, like in football, like on the like on the tape, he doesn't look fast. Right? He's not running away from players. So that's like my big concern. He doesn't drop passes. He's got very good hands. He does get open very well. He just kind of understands zones and where he needs to be at the right time, which is a very important attribute for a wide receiver. That's why Odell was very poor for our team. So I really do hope it works out. I'm also just a little bit bitter because Khalil Shakir was still on the board, and that's who I really wanted. I do hope he's going to be really good, and we got taller. That's a big benefit in our receiving corps. And we'll move on from that one. Perion Winfrey, defensive tackle from Oklahoma, with our first fourth-round pick with the 108th overall. This guy's a beast. I'm sure if you're a Browns fan watching this video, you've probably watched Quincy Carrier on YouTube, and this guy's been banging this Perion's drum for well over 2 months. Like he has been like his baby the entire time, and you can already tell if you're a Browns fan, you can already see like the energy that this guy brings. He's crazy, and I'm happy to have him. I'm so shocked he fell to the 4th round, and I'm so happy we got him. We honestly picked up our best player in this draft with our 4th pick. Like out of all these guys, Perion and the pick that we're going to talk about next are probably going to be the only ones that are going to be starters. So I thought it was a very good play. He does not give up. He's a menace. He is extremely quick, especially with how big he is. I should tell you guys how big he is. He's 6'4", 303 pounds, and he just plays with a ton of power. He's a very, very good pass rushing defensive tackle. He's a bit meh in the run defense, which it just seems that the Browns don't value those big, sturdy defensive tackles to help stop the run. It does not seem like something that they put too much value into. We haven't seen it yet, but I'm excited. This is one of like the first defensive linemen that we've taken in the Andrew Berry era that I've been like genuinely excited about. Andrew Berry with his defensive tackles have been, if you can have any like nitpick with what he does, is that little area. But I think he's going to be a great addition. I can't wait. And then the next pick, which honestly, funnily enough, probably is my favorite pick so far. The Browns have had awful kicking woes for years now, and it was so frustrating for our fan base because we always talked about it. Like, we need a kicker, we need a kicker, we need a kicker. It shouldn't be an uncomfortable thing when our guy goes out for a 30-yard field goal thinking he's not going to make this, or for an extra point. Like, I hope we get it so we have 7 points. That was a common occurrence. We lost, I think, 3 games last year because of kicking. Not because of kicking, but if they'd like made the kicks that they were supposed to, we wouldn't have lost, right? Like, honestly, we should just win the game apart from kicking, right? That's what everyone will say. But still, like, kicking is a part of the job. You've got one job. Make your kick, even if it is difficult. And then you see the Bengals go and get Austin Seibert, or not Austin Seibert, that was the kicker from Oklahoma that sucked for the Browns.
Evan McPherson.
Yeah, you get Evan McPherson from Florida come in and then kick for the Bengals, and it like changed everything for him. Like, all of a sudden, like, drives that stalled out were still point-worthy drives for them because they kicked field goals. He like literally walked them through their first 2 games in the playoffs. People talk about Joe Burrow and everything, but I think Evan McPherson scored over half the points for him. So kicker's incredibly important. The Browns have sucked at it, and the Browns were like, you know what? We're done with that. And they drafted a kicker in the 4th round, which is comical. You know, the Browns would draft a kicker in the 4th round. You can make all the jokes you want. But this guy's very good. He's over 80. He's 80% with field goals over 50 yards. He's hit multiple game winners, including one where he hit like a 57-yard field goal in the fog where you couldn't even see the goalpost, and he drilled it against Florida to win the game. And in that same game, Emmett McPherson went down and he had a chance to win the game and he shanked it. So hopefully that's, a comparison. Hopefully he's really good for us. With our first 5th-round pick and only 5th-round pick that we took, Jerome Ford, running back out of Cincinnati. This one, Mikey, this is why I brought up the question with your guys' Patriots and their running backs. What are we going to do? Because we took Jerome Ford, right? He's a 5th-round pick. He's not just going to be taken to then go to the practice squad or not make the team. We've got Nick Chubb. We're paying him. He's not leaving, right? You got Kareem Hunt, who's got a year left on his deal. And Jerome Ford, his comparison really is Kareem Hunt. They play very similar. And then we also have Demetric Felton on the team that they said he is a running back, not a wide receiver, and that they want him on the team. And then we also have Dearness Johnson, who we're paying $2.5 million. So we have a huge cap hit in the running back room with guys that are all locked up. And you can't just cut or let go. So are we really going to go in with 5 running backs? Or do we think that, maybe Kareem Hunt will be traded? Or will Dearness Johnson get signed by another team? Because he's on a 10-year, so another team can offer him the contract that he wants, and the Browns can either match it or just let him go. So it makes me think that either Dearness Johnson or Kareem Hunt could be on the move. I don't know. What do you think, Mikey? You think...
Hey, 5 running backs ain't as bad as it sounds, baby. Just join the club, baby.
Yeah, except you guys got all 5 running backs on rookie contracts, baby. We got 7.9 million, 15 million, 2.5 million. Like, we got a lot of money into that running back room. So I'm curious what they're gonna do.
I think Dearness or Kareem is out the door, and then you'll keep around Chubb, obviously. Keep this guy, and then Demetric Felton.
But I'm excited. I mean, if you watch Cincinnati, which I watched them this last year because I don't really care for like the big schools in college football. I'm not. It's the same crap every year. I'm not interested in it. But when you get these like teams that kind of blow up and they're moving, they're a lot of fun to watch. And Jerome Ford was like the reason why Cincinnati won a lot of their games. I mean, that guy was a total beast and workhorse for him. So I'm excited to have him. I like that pick. In our only 6th-round pick, we took Michael Woods, a wide receiver out of Oklahoma. I legitimately had no idea who this guy was. No idea.
Transfer from Arkansas to Oklahoma, bro. What do you mean?
Yeah, yep, I know that. I went and read up on him and watched some stuff on him after the fact. But, I mean, Dylan, we studied how many receivers in this offseason?
This is garbage time receiver right now, baby.
Yeah, practice squad guys, but but still, I mean, we did a lot of like 5th, 6th-round guys. Yeah. I mean, all 3 of our teams needed receivers, and so we all just watched it. And we like, scouting receivers. Receivers are a fun position to watch. I had no idea who this guy was.
Yeah, I never heard of him either.
So I looked him up, did pretty good. He's 6'1", 200 pounds. Like you said, he's a transfer from Oklahoma. He's the first one that kind of breaks our barrier of like parameters that we're allowed to draft in. He's 22 already. I know, so old at 22. That's crazy. But his biggest knock for me was if you watch him play, he tries to catch with his chest a lot, and I hate that. I hate like let me collapse the ball into my chest catches, because it's asking for a drop. Apart from that, he's a solid enough wide receiver. He's got traits that you could use potentially later on. He's going to be a practice squad guy, special teamer, and we'll see what can go on from there. In the 7th round, we got Isaiah Thomas, the defensive end from Oklahoma. We went heavy Oklahoma this draft,
yes,
I guess.
Did.
I like it a lot. He's a really good D end. He'll never be a starter in the NFL, I don't think, unless there's like dramatic growth. But he's exactly what we needed to do. I mean, we had a really poor edge class behind Myles Garrett and Jadeveon Clowney. And then when Takk McKinley went down, like we had guys out there that shouldn't be playing football, really. And we'll see what the Browns think of Curtis Weaver. He's been on the roster. They just don't ever really play him, but they consistently make sure that they keep him. So I'm curious if they're ever going to let him play or what that deal is. But we needed a revamp in the edge room, and they did that. They did that. Chase Winovich, Alex Wright, Isaiah Thomas, and they still have Curtis Weaver, and I don't think they have Porter Gustin anymore. I think they let him go. Isaiah Thomas is he's a bit big. He's a bit different. He's pretty small. He's 6'5", 260, but he plays more of like he's more of like a run blocking or like a run stuffing defensive end, but he stands up. So he's quite interesting. Like he's a different kind of guy, but it's Oklahoma, so you never really know in the Big 12 with defenses how a guy's actually going to be playing. But he's got traits that could be really good, and he's just a depth guy. You know, if you can get him out there and he can get you 2 sacks, 3 sacks a year, and just give Myles Garrett a breather, that's all you need him for. And I think he can do that very well. And then lastly, we picked up a center from Texas Tech, probably to just bring some sort of competition in for Nick Harris instead of just letting him walk into the job, even though he's probably earned it because he's been practicing for 3 years for the Browns as like their starting center. But you know, it's not too bad. You get in the 3 picks and the 6th and the 7th, you guys got a couple guys that could be practice squad that if they make the team, then great. And then you got a guy that helps revamp your room. So I can't be too mad at it. Overall, I mean, the draft, excuse me. Whew. Overall, the draft, you're not having a 1st or 2nd round pick, basically, and you're picking from the 3rd round on, and then also collecting 2 picks for next year. I think the Browns did very well for themselves in that aspect. Overall, I'll give it a C+, B-. You know, there's not much more you can do. You know, they didn't butcher any 1st round picks because they don't have any. You know, they didn't reach on a guy in the 2nd round. They collected more capital so they can grab stuff for next year. So I the Browns did what Andrew Berry likes to do. He built for the numbers. He gave himself more chances next year and made sure that they still have capital going on in the future. So I appreciate that. And we got a kicker. So thank goodness. What do you think, Mikey? That's pretty much all I got to say about this draft class.
Yeah, I'd give it ballpark C+, B- in that area. You guys did very well. I know a lot of people rated you guys pretty highly for what you guys were working with. Your 2 4th and your 5th round pick are your guys' best picks of the draft, for sure. I know you wanted Perrion Winfrey so bad, and you were hoping he was there in the 2nd round for you, and look, he's there in the 4th. So yeah, that's a solid pickup. And then you get your kicker there, Cade York. Hopefully he can be just as be a part of that new wave of kickers going into the NFL. And then you got Jerome Ford, who is Cincinnati, basically that offense. So maybe he can learn some things from Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, and he can potentially take over whenever Nick Chubb's days are done, sadly, in Cleveland. So, but yeah, all around, not too bad of a draft.
Whoa.
What?
You just say when Nick Chubb's days are over in Cleveland, you wash your mouth, you hoe.
I mean, eventually, whenever it's going to happen eventually. It's just when it happens. He's
going to retire a Brown.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I just, when it happens, you have a backup now.
Don't you disrespect your own or Nick Chubb like that. Nicholas Jamal Chubb.
Anyways. But yeah, and then you got some depth players and David Bell, Michael Woods, and then Martin Emerson there. So all around, not too bad of a draft. You guys did well for yourself. And also, yeah, like you said, got capital for next year, got picks back for next year from the Deshaun Watson trade. And I think that's a very solid draft there from Andrew Berry.
Yeah. It's just a bit different feeling because, you know, as Browns fans, we're used to, you know, drafting 3 new guys to be our starters this year because we need them.
Mm-hmm.
And we're used to guys being in the 5th round becoming like our starting linemen because we need them. Now we've got a legitimate team, and we had a great offseason, a really great offseason. And now we're just drafting, you know, for some depth and to fill up for stuff in a couple years for contracts-wise coming out. So it's a pretty good draft. It's just in a different position than what we're used to, for sure. But I mean, you could throw in next to Jerome Ford, Amari Cooper, because we traded a 5th-round pick for Amari Cooper. So right after Cade York, we took Amari Cooper. And we also got Deshaun Watson. So just put brand new quarterback as round 1 and 2, a top 5 quarterback. And then this draft looks a lot better in that case.
Yeah.
Apart from that, though, if you guys made it to the end of this video, we do appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys hit that like button, smash the subscribe button, and follow us. We're going to be dropping